Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your friendly neighborhood soda here from the Schmoes of the North with a very special guest for you all tonight. I have with me Emily the Rose Jacobson. How are
Hello.
you doing? How are you doing tonight, Emily?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's a beautiful day up here in northwestern British Columbia, so I can't complain.
It's been a pretty nice day in LA too. I was just talking about that to Adam downstairs. I was like, "Oh, this is a very nice day."
Yeah, it started off with a little bit of slushy snow this morning, which I didn't like, but it turned into a very nice sunny day. So thank God.
Wonderful.
All right, so yeah, let's get this thing started. So, first off, how did you get involved with the Schmodown, and can you give the listeners a better picture of who you are outside of the Schmodown, and also what makes you want to keep playing?
Sure. Well, I got into the Schmodown because it was Adam Hlavik who introduced me. When we started dating, he told me one day, he's like, "So I compete in." I kind of had heard of the movie Trivia Schmodown, and when we were dating, he was like, "Oh, I compete in it, and I've got to go do a match. Do you want to come to a filming with me? Do you want to come see me do my match?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I went there and I watched him do Inner Geekdom, and I was like, "Oh." I got bit by the Schmodown bug and immediately was like, I want to do this. And so I remember he introduced me to Christian after that. I came back for another one of his matches, and Christian came up to me and said, All right, before his match even started, he's like, I want you to keep track of how many answers you get right from watching Adam's match. And so I did. I did about halfway. I got about half and half just without studying. And we talked later, and he's like, "Great, we want to get you into the Schmodown." So then I started. That was my introduction to Inner Geekdom. I believe my first match was, I believe, around this time last year. That
Oh
was my
wow,
first match. Yeah, against Winston Marshall,
yes, I do
which was
remember
really
that.
really fun,
Yeah,
and that was a TKO for my first match. So that was great.
yeah, no kidding.
Um, Trying to think of the second. Oh yeah, the second part of the question. Who am I outside of the Schmodown? Well, I'm an actor. I'm a host. I'm a writer, and I'm a gamer. So I'm an entertainment jack of all trades. I am actually a video games contributor for Geek Girl Authority, and so I
Oh,
am constantly going to like I have. I'm going to E. I go to E3. I go to all these big gaming conventions as media to cover them. And I've also hosted. I hosted the E3 Satellite Media Tour last year,
oh,
so that
that's
was
really
really,
cool.
really neat. Yeah, I love games. I love gaming. I'm a huge gamer nerd. So I really hope that video games movies get added to the Inner Geekdom Schmodown. I think they should. I think that should definitely be an Inner Geekdom category.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I also do improv as well.
Oh,
And
nice.
I'm a GM, I'm a game master and a performer on Hyper RPG on Twitch.
Yes, I've
So,
seen a few of those episodes. Yes.
yes, I just did a Witcher RPG earlier this
Oh,
year.
nice.
And that was really, really fun.
Yeah, I'm in a community theater here, and one of our my castmates actually just moved to town, and a bunch of us were hanging out after the show, and she revealed to us that she's actually a paid DM. So after our play is
Oh,
done, she's actually gonna
dang.
lead a campaign for us, and I'm like, oh my God,
That's
yeah,
awesome. I love that there's like DMs for hire out there. I think that's
yeah.
so cool.
I didn't know that was a thing until she mentioned it. I was like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, you mentioned you do improv. How much has that helped with helped you in the Schmodown?
I think it's helped with a lot, especially since especially with doing the live show. I think the
Mm.
live show was the biggest time where because I have a BFA in theater performance. So
Oh, really?
I'm a bachelor of fine arts in theater. So that my stage experience really did help me for the live show in Atlanta for the most part. My nerves got a little bit of the best of me
Mm.
during the second round when I had to pick. For some reason, the fact that I had to pick two different things just threw me. But yeah, just being on that stage and just being like, all right, no, yeah,
Mm.
this is Emily's playground. Like this is a place I am familiar with. So just feeling confident up there. And yeah, just it's just the improv of thinking of fun lines on the spot to tell your opponent, thinking of fun kind of quick little jabs, and then yeah, being silly as well. I think my improv has really helped me kind of navigate the schmodown. Definitely.
Yeah, no kidding. You do seem very comfortable up on the stage. That's one of the things that I actually picked up the most on at the live event. Now, speaking of which,
Yes.
how does a day preparing for the live event compare to a day preparing in the studio? Like, what are the main differences?
Oh, well, definitely. I had a hotel room all to myself. So
Nice.
that was very nice. I woke up, I went downstairs for some free breakfast, and then I essentially just went back upstairs. as I was getting ready, I just was kind of psyching, getting myself in the zone. I called. My parents were like, "Oh, we want to talk to you beforehand," so just
Mm,
talking to them too. Uh, but yeah, just going over my notes. I have a really great note cards app on my phone. And then the night before, the television at the hotel actually had YouTube on it. So this entire time, ever since they introduced the rule where they're going to actually reuse questions from previous Inner
yes.
Geekdom matches, I've gone through almost every single Inner Geekdom competition now, and
Oh,
I've written
wow.
down all the questions and answers. So that's what I was finishing. I was finishing up a little bit more of that on Friday night. And then, yeah, Saturday was just kind of getting myself in the zone, doing some extra studying. And then once we were at the venue, that's when kind of the nerves were setting in. It was
Mm,
like, oh, yep, we're doing this. This is happening. This is tonight. And yeah, it was really nice I was in the green room with Ben, and so it was really nice because Ben was talking to me, and we were just talking about strategies for his match
mm,
and for my match, and that was really nice. I've never really had that before, being in a group for the first time, being in having been drafted into
mm.
the exchange. That was really, really nice and special
Yeah.
because Adam's usually been with me for all my matches, so this was the first match he wasn't there. But I had the entire exchange because I'm a part of that faction now, and so
Yeah, I
that was
was.
really, really awesome.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you. Like, obviously, you were a rookie last year. How, like, being a part of a faction, it definitely must have changed the way you approach the game, and in terms of how you're studying. Like, I'm assuming like they're all giving you like pointers and stuff because they've all done live events and what have you, right?
Oh yeah, we have a very nice group chat where we all just talk about each other's matches. We talk about upcoming matches. We talk about study strategy. We talk about each other's opponents' weaknesses and
Oh,
strengths,
nice.
and whatnot. And it really has made the game that much more exciting and
Mm,
personal for me. And it's so awesome. Like all of those guys just at in Atlanta had my back, and so that I think that was really was awesome too. Not only did we have this incredible movie trivia Schmodown matchup right after Inner
yeah.
Geekdom with all these amazing Finstock players, but yeah, that was something that was really special, was having them all there too, not just in text form, but
Mm.
physically there. Like, we're gonna walk out. We all want to walk out with you. Like, we're gonna walk out with you. We're there to support you. And like, just after I came off of my match, they're like, you gave a really good match, and just yeah, it was such a nice like bonding time to get to know my faction.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, honestly, I can't think of a better way to have your first live event than to have your faction mates there, and especially like three of the greatest players to ever play the game too. Like
Oh my
that's
gosh,
got to be.
that was an insane match right after yeah the
Yeah,
movie.
no kidding. Like I wasn't able to watch it live because I was on stage when it aired. But yeah, definitely, I'm sitting there by my breakfast, like chopping down my cereal, like on the edge of my seat. Like that is how you want a match like that to go.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the quick fire round was insane between Ben
Yeah,
and Dan. Just Ben was just like da 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 da.
yeah, yeah. No kidding. And so, what was the backstage like, yeah, throughout the day? Not just like you said for you, but like what did you notice with everybody? Like, what was the atmosphere like?
It definitely was. We all got there, and it was like just kind of figuring out when we got there, like, all right, here we go, here we go. But then, yeah, both Ben and Dan were in their own rooms, and Alex was in his own room. So I was actually in the room with Ben,
Mhm.
since that's where uh, Bobby Finstock, my manager, or Dagnino was. And so I was with them in that room. And yeah, it was just like, it was really, really focused. Watching Ben prepare for his match and hearing his strategy was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is awesome. And he actually, it was really funny. We were going over some Star Trek questions before my match, and for some reason, I kept forgetting Justin Lin's first name. I just couldn't. I
Oh.
was remembering Lin, just couldn't remember Justin. I knew it started with a J. Kept saying John for some reason. So he said, "All right, let's think of a memory pattern with that." And lo and
Oh.
behold, I get asked about who directs Star Trek Beyond, and of course it's Justin Lin. And
Yeah.
after my match, Ben was like, "Yes, we did that. That was what we worked on beforehand." And that has happened to me. That happened to me in my last match too. I think my last match, I got like two different Star Trek Beyond questions, and Adam and I had just watched the movie that
Mhm.
previous night.
Nice. It's almost like it's kismet.
I know there's some definitely some Twilight Zoney like do 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 do
Yeah,
do
yeah, no kidding.
moments in Schmodown.
So one thing a lot of the fans and myself have noticed, you are a very positive person. You definitely have a positive attitude, and that positivity shines through even when you lose. Do you think it's important to have that when competing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to two different things. The first is I'm get to do movie trivia and geeky trivia for fun. Like, how awesome is that? It's
I know,
remembering
right?
that, and that helps calm my nerves. Just remembering, like, hey, I'm here to have fun. My competition's here to have fun. The more I have fun, the better the match will go, the better I'll look. And just the more energy I get to give back to this amazing audience and this amazing group of people that's watching. And then the second reason why I'm like so positive too, even like you said, after I maybe a match doesn't go my way, is because a big part of improv is mistakes are gifts or failures are gifts.
Yeah.
And it is in failing that we learn. When you win, you don't learn anything. I had a professor in college who said, once you're not getting any notes, that's when you should be worried. Because if you're getting notes, that means that a director or a person thinks that you have room for improvement. So even though a loss can be rough, I've noticed that with each of my games, I'm getting better and better. And for me, I'm like, that is such a celebratory thing.
Of course. Yeah, no kidding. Every get match is a learning experience, right? Now, speaking of going back to the Atlanta Live show,
Yes.
how was it like about how was it like what was it like when you found out you'd be facing Alex Damon, Star Wars legend? Uh no, that went out that cut out for a second. Was that me?
Hello? Are we
Hi,
good
there
now?
we go. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I bonked my little headset.
Yeah, no worries.
Apologies.
On one of our live streams, our engineer went to wipe a crumb off his keyboard and crashed the whole thing. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had to restart and yeah, it was fun. But yeah, no, back to the Atlanta. When you, what was your? How did you feel when you found out you'd be facing the Star Wars legend Alex Damon in his first IG match in his hometown? Like, talk about pressure.
I know. Well, the thing that was much the more pressure for me was not that it was his hometown,
Yeah,
was that it was the first Intergeekdom match of the year. I didn't realize
that's
that
right.
until I was on the Finstock Exchange
Yeah.
podcast, and they were like, "By the way, it's the first Intergeekdom match of the year," and I was like, "Oh, yep." Like, there go the nerves.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing for Alex was I was going up against a not a nobody, but an unknown.
Yeah.
And so we all knew he's going to be great at Star Wars. That's a given. He's going to be killer at Star Wars. Can't let him spin Star Wars. Can't let me pick Star Wars, even though Star Wars is one of my strengths.
Yeah.
So it just became great. It was almost freeing a little bit in a sense because it became, all right, I can't sit here and focus on what his strengths or weaknesses. They're unknown to me. So I just got to focus on what I can do. But on the other end of that, that's what kind of threw me in the wheel round. It's because we didn't know his strengths and weaknesses. We just knew that he passed up on Harry Potter. So yeah. I almost tried to give him Middle Earth because I know that Middle Earth trips up a lot of people, namely because of the character names. That it's a very, very wordy book series and movie, and so a lot of these.
Harloff is living proof of the tripping up the names.
Exactly, and so I was like, great, that could be possibly a weakness, but it was such an unknown. I was like, oh, I don't know. And so, yeah, that's why I ended up giving him Harry Potter because he had already passed on it. And I said, great, that's a safe bet. And I felt like I could do pretty well in that. I'm bummed I missed that Bulgaria question, but yeah. But yeah.
No, that was definitely a pretty tough one. And how did you, when you hit that Iron Man 3 question?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I thought this was going to be the easiest match ever. I was like, whoa. Like, as soon as, because I was just, that's a fairly, to me in my book, that's a fairly easy question. Where is Iron Man 3? Like, what movie is the beginning of phase 3? I believe it was, yeah. Phase 2.
Phase 2, yeah.
Phase 2. That's what Iron Man 3, but phase 2. What's the beginning of phase 2 in the MCU? I'm like, great, that's simple. That's the easiest movie day question I could get. And at first I thought it was going to be how many phases are there? Or what phase are we in now? Yeah. But yeah, as soon as he didn't get that, immediately I was like, I've got this in the bag. But then those other questions came up and I was like, nope, this is going to be a tight match. He's ready for this. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely tell that, like, this is going to be a tight match. So what was your reasoning behind picking Trek then?
Oh, well, I'm wearing my Wesley sweater right now.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Trek was because I had gone over Trek pretty well that morning. Okay. I had studied each of the films individually. I knew all the actors. I knew all the plot points. I knew all the appearing actors. And MCU is one of my strengths. But the thing I was mainly worried about is that for me in the MCU, the actors are my weakest point still.
Okay.
That's something I'm going to definitely work on this year because as soon as I nail actors
Mm.
and just names, I'm going to be killer in this franchise or just in the Schmodown.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that's kind of my Achilles heel right now across the board, which is like okay because I don't have one category that's necessarily a weakness. It's just kind of throughout the board. It's
Yeah.
actor names.
Yeah,
So
you
I
get a
was
specific weakness per every the same weakness every category, which is not a
yeah.
bad thing to have.
So I was worried that I was going to get actor questions in MCU.
Okay.
Whereas with Star Trek, I already knew I already knew all the actor names.
Mm.
So that's why I picked it. Looking back, I'm really curious to see what would have happened had I picked MCU. I'm sure I would have done better in it than I thought. I was just, man, I cannot believe how thrown I got from doing opponent's choice. First of all, my incredible luck of getting opponent's choice and spinner's choice was just insane.
Yeah, what are the odds?
It just definitely it threw me winner's choice because I was like, that's when the nerves set in. I was feeling really confident up until that point, and I was like, oh, for some reason, it was like I entered tunnel vision in that moment because I went down pretty much the wire on my choice, and so it was for some reason that was the thing that got me, and I never could have expected it to.
Yeah. So was it more like being put on the spot, like having to like, what do I choose, sort of thing? Here is that
it definitely was that. I was hoping that the wheel was going to pick for me because that just eliminates the power of choice. It's that thing where it's like if you can't decide between I want this for dinner or I want this for dinner, someone always says, okay, well I'm going to tell you you're going to have this, like I want pizza or I want let's go get ramen, and someone's like, well I don't know what to decide. If someone says, okay, you know what, we're going to go get pizza, and if your gut is like, you know what, I really want ramen, that's when you know that is your choice. I could not make that choice.
Yeah,
no just kidding. Star Trek and MCU were just like it was they had pros and cons apiece, and so that's what just tore me in that moment. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, no kidding. And I would. How much of a help was Finstock in that moment when he was up there with you?
He was awesome. He was as much. He was definitely helping me stay grounded because. But he was also bringing up good points too. He was kind of essentially. He was the other Emily, and I was like, because he was kind of saying, you wrote down MCU. We know you're good at MCU. And I was like, Star Trek. For some reason, I'm feeling Star Trek again. And I know I got Star Trek last time, I think, in my last match with Brendan Hanna. So for some reason, I was like, Star Trek. But yeah, looking back, I feel like I should have gone MCU. I think that's where my gut is telling me now. I've been interesting to see what would have happened. But yeah, definitely having Finstock up there and he was awesome throughout the entire match. You give a great manager's speech, and just coming in and checking in with me and just being like, you got this, you're just keep staying steady, no matter what happens, you got this.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear because I know there's been a lot of debate on between Roxy and Finstock about how great of a manager Dagnino actually is, and it sounds like he's actually a pretty good manager. Safe to say, right?
Oh yeah, I know that she was bringing up a big part of communication.
Yeah,
having to deal with Ben versus Dan.
Yeah,
but that match wasn't about Ben versus Dan. That match was about Emily, and Bobby Finstock is a great manager for Emily.
That's good to hear. That's good that he's actually a good manager because you look at him and you're like, well, okay, but yeah, I'm assuming how much of I gotta ask this, how much is he like his character? Is it like pretty close? Like not going too full behind the curtain, but I would assume it's on par.
He's definitely much more of a showman on stage.
I believe that.
I mean, when he's managing you, even on the stage, it's very down to earth. He's there to check in with you. It's not his. He puts up a big front, of course, when addressing the audience, of course he is. But when he's one-on-one, it's like, all right, this is about you. It's not about me. And so that's when it gets just really personal and really tight and close.
That's good. That's good to hear because it's nice to know that there is that side to Finstock. Now, earlier you were saying you would like to see, video game movies on the wheel. Is there any other and I think it will happen once we start getting more and more video game movies. What other slices would you like to see on there? Do you think that you would be really great at?
I could definitely. I know that Indiana Jones and Back to the Future have
Yeah.
been kind of mixed bag for a while. I
Yeah.
could definitely see them being added, and same with Jurassic Park. I could definitely see Jurassic Park being added.
Yeah, I'm surprised with that one because now we're going into the sixth movie, so yeah, it would make perfect sense for that one, and then
There's enough
possibly,
content there, yeah.
yeah, and then same with possible Indiana Jones 5, and yeah, no, those would make perfect sense to have as categories. Is there one that has got you going like, why is that on there?
Oh, old Marvel's just hard.
Oh, really? That the
Just
old Marvel meaning like stuff not in the MCU, right?
right. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like Daredevil,
Oh,
Ghost Rider.
yeah,
Because I those movies came out. Oh gosh, because I'm still a youngin,
yeah,
a little bit, and so those movies came out. I remember watching them very clearly when I
yeah,
was like 12 and 13. So just having to remember like all of those actors
yeah.
is especially like just that's my biggest stretch. It's like ah.
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember when those came out, and I don't think I've actually seen any of them outside of the Four movies since they came out. So yeah, that would definitely be a hard category to do.
I think the hardest movie I had to watch so far in prepping for the showdown is that Adam and I went through all the Superman movies, all the old
Oh,
Superman movies.
let me guess,
Superman,
Superman 4?
no, Superman 3 was rougher than
Oh,
4 for me. It just is so
really?
boring. It's so boring, and the fight with him in
Yeah,
the junkyard is just so silly, and the villains are just goobers. They're all
yeah.
goobers and just weird.
I haven't watched that movie in a long time, but I remember when I was a youngin, where the one lady gets turned into the robot just scared me as a child.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's just so bizarre, and it just was like I could not. I was like, man, I didn't expect a Superman movie to be boring, but like this is
yeah,
it.
and
This
a
is
Superman movie with Richard Pryor to boot.
I know.
Yeah,
And just Christopher Reeve's my man. Like just oh
yeah,
man, it was hard.
yeah. No, for sure, he's also my Superman. Also, so like I said, like I just said, the robot moment was one of the scene that scared me. Was there when growing up while watching movies? Was there anything that like terrified you and that actually still that's still a part of you today?
Oh, yes. There were a lot of movies
Yeah,
that scared me as a kid. For some reason, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
really.
when Violet becomes a blueberry and starts like
Yeah,
blowing up, that scared me for some reason. And same with, oh gosh, what was it? The child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
really.
So, oh yeah, he's frightening and he's just so creepy.
Okay,
Trying to think what
mine.
else like super. I'm trying to think of other movies
Yeah,
too. Hmm.
I'll give you mine while you're thinking about it. So you're familiar with Columbia House videos, like where they would okay.
Yes.
So my parents were part of that, and for years I had nightmares about Chucky the doll, and I didn't know why. So about 13, I finally asked my mom, like, what is with this? Like every night I have this nightmare. She says, well, when you were 3, you saw the VHS case and kept asking me to let you watch the movie with the doll on the cover. And so apparently I kept asking her and asking her. She's like, fine, you want to watch it? Go ahead. And I
Oh
watched Child's Play at
gosh.
3. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Now I love the movies, can watch them no problem. You bring any of the merchandise with me and I freak out.
That I completely
Yeah.
understand that. I think also, yeah, Danny DeVito and Batman Returns. I
Oh,
think just especially namely him up in like the attic with the other
yeah.
kind of circus people and just the weird Tim Burton-y kind of set design. That is also very spooky.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was when at the end when he's like bleeding the ooze from his mouth. Like, ugh.
But also very spoopy.
Yeah. Don't, yeah, that's the movie I don't watch, won't watch all that often. Okay, so here's a question we always ask all our guests. Now, if there were 3 movies to go away, if all movies were to go away next week, what would be 3 movies that you would watch as a final goodbye to films?
Oh, that is such a good question. 3 movies. Let's see. Um, all right, I think it'd be Silence of the Lambs,
Really? Okay.
Ghostbusters,
Yes.
and then probably Mary Poppins. So I'd do
Oh.
drama, comedy, and then Disney or just kind of animation. I would go with it's hard because I would want to pick like a full animation for that
Yeah.
third one. But right now my gut is telling me Mary Poppins because it's also one of my favorite films of all time.
Fair enough. I'd have to say would probably be Rocky for the drama part, and it's also my favorite movie of all time. A League of Their Own for both the drama and the comedy.
Yeah. Oh, it's
That's
such a
number
good
two.
movie.
Yeah, no. Oh, me and my friend we quote that all the time, and probably my third one is because I love it so much is Titanic to cover the epic. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. No, those are three of my top five movies right there. Um, okay, so looking forward to into the future, the Schmodown. Uh, oh God. Uh, I don't know what I'm about to ask. I just blanked.
All good.
um,
All good.
okay, what are you hoping for in the future? Like, is there somebody you'd like to play or anything like that?
I want the Inner Geekdom belt for Finstock.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
want. I want to I want another lady to hold that belt again.
Yeah.
Two, or like, did I say A or B?
You said
A,
well,
A1, I want another lady to hold that
yeah.
belt. B2, I want to be a belt holder for Finstock.
Yeah,
Those
no
guys are
kidding.
great. And I love that Dan's coming into Inner Geekdom. I
Mhm.
believe that Roka's also coming into Inner Geekdom.
Oh, really?
Cool. Possibly. It's like I think
Yeah.
it's kind of being. I know that Dan definitely is because we were
Yeah.
talking about it a little bit. But I want that belt. I don't want them to have that belt. I want to bring that belt home to my faction. So
Yeah.
it's like wait, let me catch up real quick. So
Yeah.
that's really what I want.
Yeah, no kidding. That's actually also a great thing to aspire to. You know, I'll definitely be cheering you on. Have you ever thought about venturing into like say singles or anything like that? Or
Watching actually that match between Dan and Ben was actually one of the first times I've ever really seen a whole movie trivia Schmodown match all the way through. I've only
oh,
really been watching Inner Geekdom. So I'm sitting there
really?
and I was like, oh, I'm getting all the movie trivia Schmodown questions so much easier than mine because our division has to go in depth because we don't have all the films ever to pull from.
Yeah.
So they have to go into depth. But especially just sitting there on the sidelines, I was like, oh, I'm getting these. I was really surprised. And I know personally, I'm so bummed. I was out of town last year when they had the animation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I am a huge, huge, huge animation nerd. I'm a huge, huge, huge Disney nerd and a foreign animation film nerd.
Mhm.
So I really want to ask if we can do another one of those, an exhibition this year for animation again.
Yeah.
And I would love to compete in that. I think that's really something special I would like this year. And you mentioned earlier people who I want to go up against.
Mhm.
There is one person I definitely want to go up against. It is Adam Hlavik.
Oh yes.
Now that we're on two different factions,
Yeah.
I at first we joked about it when I first got into Inner Geekdom.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, they could do that. We also joked about it. We also talked we could have become an Inner Geekdom team or a movie trivia Schmodown team. But now that we're on different factions, that is not in the works right now. But I do want to go up against him.
No
I think it'd
kidding.
be really interesting because
Yeah.
I know his strengths and weaknesses and he knows mine. And so ultimately it would come down to who can prepare the better against the two of us.
No, that would be that's a great idea. A hyper RPG Civil War.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that definitely would be fun. This is something I've heard of talked about before. Do you think there is room for an Inner Geekdom Teams title?
Oh, I definitely think so. Oh, yeah. I feel like teams I think that'd be a really, really fun aspect to build into this division.
Mm.
I think there'd definitely be teams, and you could do really, really fun stuff with those teams too.
Well, yeah.
Especially the team names and team walkouts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That is definitely one of my favorite things is the team names, and I'm assuming it was you that came up with using your middle name as your character name.
I pitched two options because I love my middle name. My middle name is great. I'm also Emily Rose the Exorcist. That has haunted me for the latter half of my life.
Fair enough.
But I'm a huge Texan. This is if in case nobody. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, and actually. My dad's side of the family, we are like original Texas descendants, and I'm actually the distant granddaughter of two Texas Rangers. So,
that's cool.
So we have like deep Texas roots.
Yeah.
So I almost went with Emily. I was almost going to go with the Texas Ranger, but because I was like, what if I was like the Ranger or like the Texas Ranger kind of deal? But Christian was like, no, I really like the Rose. Let's do that. And so that's how it came to be.
Yeah, that's it's actually a really good choice. Although I do like Texas Rangers. How long have you been in LA, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I came out here because I came out to California for college because I knew I wanted to
Okay.
end up in California eventually.
Yeah.
So I went to Chapman University in Orange County for 4 years, and then I've been officially in LA for oh my gosh, it's 5 years this May,
Oh wow.
2015. So yeah,
Wow.
May 2015. So it'll
Yeah.
be officially 5 years.
Wow. So what is the differences you've noticed between Houston and Los Angeles? Like I'm assuming it's definitely like a major culture clash.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely yeah. That's the biggest. That is definitely one of the biggest things. That and traffic, and the weather. I miss the
Yeah.
rain. It rains a lot in Houston.
Oh, you should
Uh
come to BC. It rains all the time here.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think the biggest difference too. It's like also the food, and
Mm,
yeah, just the culture. Like in Texas, it's just this you have this very southern
yeah.
hospitality. You just this very kind of but there's also kind of this kind of southern curtness where it's
Oh
like
yeah.
I'm gonna be so nice to you right now and just be so dishonest. Uh but and then yeah, everyone in LA is just like and I get it, it's a big city where a
Mm,
lot of people are trying to get into a lot of places. So
yeah.
it's just like a work, 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 work. But I definitely in college and outside, I feel like I found like my geeky family here like
Mm,
where growing up it was kind of like oh don't talk about the fact that you like anime
yeah.
don't talk like my mom adores Marvel films and she's such a big Star Wars fan and there's women her age that make fun of her for it
I
and that's
believe it.
still like it's still this thing that's going on and I get so mad because I'm like no you are such a cool mom
Yeah.
because you love the MCU and you love Star Wars like please do not let any of these people deter you from loving loving the films that you
Yeah.
love. So it's definitely yeah. There's some things I miss about
Mm.
Texas, but there's also like there's some things that I really do love about LA.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I never had the experience of going from big town to big town. Like I lived in Vancouver for 6 years, and I come from a town that's like 20,000 people, maybe.
Wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we're very small up in north. Like yeah, you were 2 hours from the coast, and but that's was the biggest thing was like moving to Vancouver for the first time, just being so overwhelmed and. Like I'm used to, being people being friendly on the street, but then you get there and you're like everyone's just like walking by you in their own little mind. And what annoys me the most is I wish I had found a community like this when I was living down there. Because up here, I can't get anybody to watch a slow down. I've tried,
Oh,
which is unfortunate. Like I'm constantly hustling every time I meet new friends. Is like, hey, you should watch this if because you're into theatrics. Watch this. Nobody's into it, so it's like I missed out on that opportunity to have what you have to find that community, and that's one of my biggest regrets about my time in Vancouver was not finding the community earlier.
I
Yeah.
totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of my favorite pub in Vancouver is called the Stormcrow Tavern. It's actually a geek pub. You walk in, they got like a Cthulhu on the wall. The first time I went, they played Mars Attacks. They encourage you to play board games and stuff. Is there a place like that in LA?
Yes. Oh my gosh. There's board game
Yeah.
bars and there's video game bars. And so
Yeah.
there is probably my favorite board game one is called Guildhall. It's in
Okay.
Burbank and there's a huge wall of just board games. They
Oh
have
yeah.
mead on tap there. They actually play like Twitch streams on the televisions around you so
Oh, that's
you can
cool.
watch the Overwatch League when it was on Twitch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you watch all these streamers and then they have these really nice there's a whole kind of back room that's kind of open where they have these big LED TVs on every single like kind of 3/4 walls and they have a bunch of gaming tables set up so you can
Oh
actually go back
man.
there and do like your D&D or like your RPG sessions back there. So that's a really cool place. And then there's Button Mash which is just an arcade cabinet bar that's got a bunch of
Oh
old
man.
pinball machines. They've got 6-person X-Men and so or I believe it's 5-person. I forget which one it was. Is it 5 or 6? But they have that there. And then I had my birthday there 2 years ago, and we
Oh,
spent I
that's
think
awesome.
over $10 beating that X-Men machine because we were all like, we can't stop now. We
Oh
have to
man.
beat it.
Yeah, and now I really got to get my butt down to Vancouver for a Schmodown event, so I can, or not to Vancouver, to LA, so I can see all these things. Man, that sounds amazing. So you said earlier that animation is your thing. What is the movie that really like opened your eyes to animation? Like for me, it's the Disney Renaissance. Like I'm a big fan of that
Oh
particular
yeah,
era.
I grew up during
Yeah.
that. Oh my gosh, just looking back, it's one of those things where you didn't I as a child I did not realize what I was in when it was happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh
Same.
So yeah, and I was VHSs were awesome.
Yeah.
I always anytime my parents went out to dinner, I always got a new VHS with the babysitter. So that
Nice.
was always really fun. And so yeah, I remember having Mary Poppins on VHS, all the sing-along tapes on VHS, and yeah, the Disney Renaissance was unbelievable. And just yeah, the Lion King, Mulan,
Yeah.
Pocahontas, Beauty and the
Hunch
Beast,
Hunchback.
Hunchback,
Yeah.
Hercules, Tarzan, all of these incredibly, and I think that's also why I'm such a 2D animation fan, and I'm
Yeah.
such like a please bring back 2D animation. Like
Hmm.
I'm a preacher of it. But yeah, those films just really all those stories and then those films and the original Disney films too. I love Cinderella.
Hmm.
I loved Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Pinocchio, Robin Hood.
Yeah,
A
Robin
lot
Hood's
of
my favorite from that area.
a
Era.
lot of those films, and I think just the whole Disney mindset also shaped
Yeah.
me into the positive person I am today, because just those
Hmm.
messages of just like, hey, keep working hard, keep your chin up, be positive. Seeing these very positive characters, like even though bad things were happening to them, they still tried to do good in the world,
Yeah.
and good things happened to them because of it. And so I was
Hmm.
like, oh, if you're a good person, like, great. That's always just a good thing. You're very nice people. And you know what? Life's going to be hard sometimes, but ultimately, if you give positive energy on the world will
Yeah.
reward you with positive energy
Hmm.
back.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about going back and watching those movies as an adult is like there's always things that you didn't see as a child that you pick up on now. I have unfortunately members of my family who every time I say, "Oh, I love this movie," they're like, "Really? You like animation?" It's like, okay, you're obviously not watching this movie. Like you're just looking at it as what it is, right?
It makes me so sad because the reason why this is where I'm going to get into my film sense. The reason why the Academy introduced the animated film award in
Yeah.
2001 was because of films like Beauty and the Beast,
Oh, that's
films
gonna be
like
that
Toy
award.
Story, huh?
I didn't realize that award was that young.
Yes,
Huh?
Shrek is the first film to ever win the Academy Award for animation
Not a bad
in
movie.
2001. And so it's the award, the category was announced in a reaction to the Disney Renaissance, in a reaction to these other animation companies really coming up, Don Bluth, Fox, DreamWorks, you name it.
Hmm.
And so it's just, to me, such a shame because every year there's the same article that goes out, especially for the past kind of couple of years, where they interview Academy voters.
Yeah.
And now they'll usually they'll pick 10 people. 5 of those 10 people will refuse to see animation because they say it's a waste of their time and it's for children, even though it's a category in the Academy Awards. And
Mm.
there's so many people whose jobs are to put these films together and to make these films what they are, and they're not just for kids. So all those 5 people will not see movies, but they'll vote for Disney because no, actually no, those 5 people will not see those movies and will abstain from their vote. Out of the remaining 5 people, 2 will vote Disney without seeing any Disney Pixar, just because, hey, it's Disney Pixar.
Yeah.
They're a really high quality brand. They're going to give out some good movies. They get my vote, even though they don't see them. One person will vote Disney Pixar because they actually see the movie. And then the other 2 will vote either another movie in that category. They'll vote other movies in that category because they've actually seen them.
Yeah. That's
That's so rough.
Yeah, that's something that's been bumming me out lately because as these articles are coming out more and more, it's just like how many people are not watching the movies that they're voting for. Like if you're not gonna, you're there to watch them and decide which is the best. If you're not actually gonna watch all the movies, what are you doing there?
It's tricky because yeah, I think a lot of us who watch the Academy Awards or see these nominations
Yeah.
get frustrated by like you don't like at some aspects you're like, oh, I don't want to support the Academy Awards because they didn't highlight this actor or this
Mm.
director or this film. But then on the opposite end, you see how important it was for Parasite to not only be nominated for Best International Film,
Oh, for
director,
sure.
script, and it won Best Film overall.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, it's so hard. I can't say that I'm gonna ignore and the Academy Awards are bad for this, but then
Hmm.
also praise the you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say that, oh, I don't like the Academy Awards for
Yeah.
this, and then be like, oh, well, the Academy Awards are great because it gave this award to this film, like this international film. It won the Academy Award for Best Motion Picture and for Best International Film. I think you have to if you're gonna take that position, then you just have to support them throughout. You can
Hmm.
be frustrated, but and you can advocate for change, but you can't can't put them down in one moment and celebrate in the other moment. You can't pick
Yeah.
and choose in the Academy Awards.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm in that boat because me and my friends we get together to watch the Oscars every year and we do the Oscar bingo and stuff like that. But also, like I said earlier, I live in a small town, so most of the time we don't get movies like Parasite. Like if it wasn't on Amazon Prime, I don't think anybody would have seen it here. Same with movies like Jojo Rabbit, that never came here. We get most of the big like we did get Little Women.
It's so good.
Yeah,
Little
no,
Women
I
was
love
also very good. Too.
Jojo Rabbit. It was a good movie. I did end up watching it, but it's just like that's one of those things. Like people in small communities don't get to see these smaller movies, so it'd be nice if they did like they used to, like in the days of Titanic and Avatar and Lord of the Rings. Like just embrace those movies a little more because that's what. Well, that's why they're the popular movies because that's what the majority of people are watching. Like I said, especially in small towns like this. So that's why like I was bummed. I can understand the argument why Endgame wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but I was really upset that the score wasn't nominated. That is my favorite score last year.
Oh, the score is amazing. Like
Yeah.
Adam will always play Portals whenever he can because it's great.
Yeah.
Just the music is phenomenal in that film.
Yeah, for me, it's the real hero, the one that they play over at Tony Stark's funeral. Like,
yeah. Oh,
when I got out of the movie, I downloaded it and I sent a message on Facebook. It's like, when I die, this better play my funeral. I'm coming back to haunt you.
I get it. It's a good song.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can't go wrong with that. It's just Alan Silvestri does great work.
Funny story about Avengers Endgame. When we saw it, we got to go to a Disney screening to see it. We got to actually go to the Disneyland and see an early screening.
Lucky you.
So we couldn't talk about it for like 4 days, and that was really, really hard. Or we couldn't rewatch it. I really wanted to rewatch it afterwards. The moment when essentially the A-Force moment happens with all the female Avengers, I cried so hard. I couldn't see what was happening. And it wasn't until, I'm tearing up right now, it wasn't until I watched the film a second time did I actually, for the first time, see clearly what was happening like so intricately during that scene. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Like, your second time you saw it opening night, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. Oh, that was so much fun.
That was
so
the
electric.
only way. I was the only way I could get my friends to come to opening night of any movie was to buy them all tickets in advance, and none of them regretted watching Avengers Endgame because we were with fans. So it's like when Cap
That's
got
the
Mjolnir.
best part.
Yes, they didn't understand that, and afterwards they're like, okay, I kind of understand why you like going to the movies because of experiences like that. Like I said, when Cap grabbed Mjolnir, that's the one that made me cry. Like. Yeah.
So good. Yeah, I just saw Sonic the other night with friends, and I think I love that film a lot more because I was with a great group of people, and like 10 of us were at the movies loving this goofy Jim Carrey performance together.
That movie was way better than I thought it would be. I ended up seeing it.
Same. I'm not. I am much more of a proponent for video game television series, which we're seeing now with The Witcher, the Borderlands series that's also in development, and of course today just announced The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Going to be really, really fun. But yeah, video game movies are hard because it's like, all right, you've got 2 hours, give or take, to tell a 30+ hour video game. That's really hard. You can't do that. I think Sonic and Detective Pikachu work because they are, particularly Pikachu was such a small like storyline. It was just a small game if you played it. Very simple. It's a detective film and that works. And I think Sonic was fun because it works because it's a character. We're throwing the character in the real world.
There is no story to base it off of in the video game. So that's
Assassin's Creed would work better as a series.
Yes. Yeah. Somebody on SCN actually mentioned that. Well, speaking of which, what video game would you like to see them do?
I actually want to write the script myself. My favorite video game of all time is Bioshock. So what I would write would be essentially, it would be called Rapture, and it would be from the height of Rapture with all those characters, Frank Fontaine, Andrew Ryan, all these big players in Rapture, leading up to, you start to see it'd be like all about corruption, political intrigue, kind of this escape from this Andrew Ryan's kind of this utopian dystopian society and how that ultimately falls, even though it's created by artists and scientists, and it's supposed to be an escape from politics, communism, religion, you name it. And then of course the final episode would be right New Year's Eve 1959, so when that infamous moment happens. And I think it would be really fun to explore, because that's what I always loved in those games, was finding the voice boxes, the memos, that just because that was such a unique way of using environmental storytelling to tell me about this world without me actually physically seeing it. I saw it in my head. So I really want to, and of course the Burial at Sea DLC. Yeah. But that would be something that I think would be really, really cool to explore. That, or someone brought up a good point, Horizon Zero Dawn. I think Horizon Zero Dawn would be a pretty neat series too.
Yeah, I'm really surprised they haven't you haven't heard anything about a Bioshock TV series. Like I know a number of years ago there was talk about the movie, but yeah, you're right. It definitely wouldn't work for me. I would love to see Uncharted as an Amazon limited series.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think the reason why it keeps, I mean, that film has been in production for at least 10 years now.
yeah.
And my boss is one of the old art directors for the
Oh,
Uncharted series. Yeah, oh yeah, besides other things, I work at Hero Forge. That's also something that I
yeah.
do. And so my boss, Tegan, he is the old art director, I believe, for Uncharted 3.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, we were talking, I think, a few months ago about it because it was just when they announced that, oh, they were starting filming
Yeah.
again. And he's like, that film has been in the works for like the
Hmm.
past 10 years until they finally have shot everything. I don't believe it's being made. And
Yeah.
I get it. That thing is that poor, I want to do like actually a deep dive on that film's like tumultuous history of just all the directors it's had and it's had
Yeah.
not, and all the actors and whatnot.
Yeah, that's one that would definitely benefit from like a documentary like what Schnepp did with The Death of Superman Lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, funny story. I got my PS4 just for Uncharted 4, and it was funny. I was with my dad in Walmart. That's our big store here is Walmart. So we were sending the video game out, and I saw the console, and it was had the Uncharted 3 collection. I'm like, I would love to get that, because the new one's coming out. Fast forward a couple weeks later, it's Christmas. My dad's like, "Oh, I want to give you your gift early. Come on upstairs." It's like, okay. So I go in. He's like, "Here it is," and he puts it in front of me. It's a box. I'm like, "Right on." I open it. It's an Xbox One. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it's the one you pointed at me. I'm like, no, I was pointing at the PS4. You were with me when I bought my first Xbox. Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh
but luckily we were able to go back and exchange it to get the PS4. So I was like, right on. So I spent all Christmas break like just going on the remasters of the Uncharted games.
no! It's such a good. I love the collection that came out. It was a
Oh
really,
yeah,
really fantastic collection.
yeah. And the fourth game was a great way to end it. Okay, as my final question to you, I want to
Hmm.
ask you if there was any movie that you would like, say like a Cool World scenario, you were put into an animation or whatever, what would be the movie you would like to live in?
Oh gosh, this is so hard. Oh man. Hmm. I have to go with the original trilogy of Star Wars. That's
Okay.
yeah, just being I'd love to be or no, yeah. Yeah, original trilogy. Just being a bounty hunter or a fighter in the rebellion, just kind
Yeah.
of being there, being during that time. Oh my gosh, I think that would be just a blast.
Yeah, that would definitely be fun. I'd probably have to that would probably be my pick too.
I
Yeah.
mean, and now with the announce of the oh gosh, what's it called? Oh goodness,
The
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 High
the hot
Republic. I
yes.
would honestly, they don't have a film yet, but I think if I had to pick any Star Wars timeline I was going to be in, I'd want to be a Jedi. It'd be cool to be
Hmm.
Luke Skywalker, but I'd love to go to the time where it's Jedi. The fact that they described it as Jedi who are essentially the Texas Rangers, and it's like
Yeah.
they're also the Knights of the Round Table, and they're these Wild West kind of lone rolling into town protectors. I'm like, though that's the Jedi I want to
Hmm.
be. That's whenever I build my lightsaber at Disneyland, like that's what I'm picturing.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that when I heard that concept, that kind of got because I'm a fan, but I don't really dip into much of the extra stuff. But once I heard that, I'm like, I want to consume all this. Like,
Oh
oh
yeah, that's the coolest idea ever.
yeah, yeah. You can't, I hope they knock it out of the park. Hopefully, they actually get everything together and whatnot.
Yes.
Okay, well that is our comes to an end of our time. I would like to thank you, Emily, for joining me. If you'd like to plug wherever you are in the social media space.
Sure, yeah. You can find me. I post my articles. I post any shows I'm involved with on my Twitter at frankly_Emily. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, that's frankly_Emily with an extra underscore. I'm on a video games podcast called Hit Points Pod. I'm also on a Mass Effect RPG
Oh,
podcast that's really, really awesome. It takes place
nice.
right at the cusp of the end of Mass Effect 2 into Mass Effect 3. And it's called Mass Effect Adventum. It is
Mm.
on, you can listen to it where podcasts can be found. And yeah, like I said, my Twitter is going to be where you can find me posting about Schmodown stuff, posting about movies, and all the other projects I'm involved in.
Right on. And earlier you were saying you're doing the Hyper RPG campaigns. What is the one you guys are doing right now?
Oh, well, right now we're kind of we're rebuilding the set, so we're in a bit of a transitional period. I
Yeah.
do have a few ideas in mind. I have a few shows in mind that I'm going to pitch. So right now, I am just kind of a GM for doing one shots and for doing the hyperdrives. But as soon as I lock down a campaign, I will definitely post about it on my Twitter.
Yeah, no kidding. I will definitely be. I'm definitely looking forward to that because I really enjoy what you guys do over at RPG. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, it's definitely great stuff. Like I said, I wish I had come across this stuff earlier in my life because then, yeah, it was very lonely 20s. So as for me, you can find me across all the platforms at soda underscore the underscore saxman. And yeah, just watch out for us every Tuesday with our Schmoes of the North show podcast. Once again, I'd like to thank Emily Rose Jacobson for joining me. And hope you guys all have a good evening and take care. Bye.
Bye.